Alright, I have gotten access to the Payday 3 beta, and I think it's time that I talked about it, because Payday is a game and a series that I've been playing for forever now. I play Payday the Heist. I have played most of Payday 2. I will admit I did have dropped off it for a while now, but I still think I'm in a fairly good position to talk about, critique, and just talk about my general thoughts about Payday 3, because I think Payday 3 is, so far, really looking great. It's looking like a lot of dumb fun, and it obviously depends on how the developers put it out, but I can see this being a huge success, just like I could see it be a failure. We'll see when it comes out, but for now I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. So that's that. Straight into paying the days with Payday 3. So, for those of you unaware or who haven't played any of the previous Paydays, Payday is essentially a horde shooter. However, the main difference is that you aren't fighting aliens or zombies or anything else like it. You are fighting the police while you're trying to rob a bank. It is Payday as a series is one of the most well done co-op shooter series I have ever played, and I feel like a lot of people think that way. As Payday isn't just exactly the you need to go from point A to point B, but it's usually more like you need to hunker down on point between A and B, and then you need to like steal a bunch of stuff, and there's a bunch of secrets you can do, and there's a bunch of shit, right? So going over it as an example, Payday 2 had a bunch of missions where you would have to like break into a bank or break into a weapons manufacturer or steal cocaine or anything else like it, right? So you would break in there, you start stealing. You would either go in stealth or loud. I usually chose loud because loud is it's a lot of fun. And then you have all these side things you can steal outside of the main objective, like a bunch of bonus objectives essentially that you can steal to get even better rewards. And in Payday 3, that continues. As in the one mission we have access to during the beta of Payday 3, you technically only have to steal a couple of cashbacks. However, you can steal everything and you can lockpick every single lockbox. And I did see that there was things on the ATM essentially you can interact with that wasn't in the game in the beta. Hopefully they will, well, not hopefully, they will be in the full game. Just like there will be more than one mission, right? Like that's sort of just something that has to happen. But that one mission was really well done. It's essentially just your normal heist, and it does feel extremely similar to some of Payday 2's heist before they went crazy. But it's really good. It's really, really good. Given the entire vibe of Payday 2 back, but in slightly better graphics, albeit visually it's probably not the best. However, it does also emphasize something that I think is more important than graphics, and that is the extremely good feeling gunplay. Like, holy shit. I have never been more happy to pop police skulls with my little pistol than I have been in Payday 3. Because the gunplay in Payday 3 feels good. It feels really good. It's solid. And that's really, really positive in my opinion. Because usually you have these things where you shoot a gun and it can feel a little bit floaty or whatever. It doesn't in Payday 3. Payday 3 just hits. And that is partially also due to the music. Because, like I haven't discussed yet about Payday 2, Payday has always been a series that has a banger soundtrack. Just the way everything comes together is just perfect. The techno beats and everything in the background, it's a chef's kiss. It's perfect. And Payday 3 again continues that trend, which is very, very rare to see, honestly. As usually you have like this one or two banger soundtracks and then your company sort of drops off, but Payday is definitely not dropping off. The soundtrack in Payday 3 just slaps outright. It feels good to play too, which is super important in a game like Payday where you are gonna be playing a lot to that soundtrack. And when the police assault happens, you start to really hear the amping up of the music, and everything just goes into this flow state where you're just popping heads. And I can really not describe how satisfying it is because it is so, so good. If you've ever played Deep Rock Galactic, it's almost sort of like when the aliens start swarming you and you go into this defensive state with your mates and you're like, and you're shooting and building turrets and everything. It's great. And now we have to talk about another part about Payday, and that is the guns. Because I've talked a lot about gunplay and everything like that, but I have not mentioned the weapons themselves. In Payday 3, and Payday 2, there has been a huge amount of gun customization, like crazy levels. For me, it was one of the first times I've ever seen that level of gun modding, but you can add barrels, scopes, grips, handles, everything like that to your gun. Obviously, it's not Tarkov, you're not gonna literally have gun porn here, but you are gonna have something very close to gun porn. And just like BattleBit before it, and I think also Payday 2 and whatnot, attachments aren't exactly just gotten there, unlocked through just playing with the weapons. So you have your general XP that allows you to buy new weapons, get better armor, new perks. Then you have your gun XP, which allows you to get more attachments and all of that sort of thing. And that's really fucking cool. Because in Payday 2, I think it was a game where you literally just purchase the attachments once you have them unlocked. Here you don't. You just have it. It's great. And honestly, I really enjoy it. There's also weapon skins you can seemingly unlock for just, at this point, buying it with the in-game cash. I don't know if there's going to be a cash shop or anything like that. It wasn't in the beta. But you can buy these weapon skins and everything, and that's, again, really neat. I am happy that they're doing that, because more customization is almost always good, you know? However, that being said, in Payday 2 there was monetization in the form of loot boxes and a million DLC. That's probably one of the big reasons why I myself thought of Payday 2, Payday 2's DLC. It's crazy how many there are. And they're usually like a map and that's it. Now, Payday's maps are, in my opinion, worth paying for. And that is simply because they can include a lot of gameplay hours, by God. Some of those maps are fucking insane, especially in Payday 2. A map like the train heist, I think was a DLC that came out, and that shit slapped. Or the big bank heist. Also another DLC map that I think I've spent 50 hours solely on. There are some really good maps in like Payday 2, and in Payday 3 doesn't look to be any different. I don't see why they would change up the monetization necessarily, because it wasn't outrageous. While yes, there was loot boxes, they were only cosmetic. They did have some benefits like 3% extra damage, let's go, but it wasn't anything huge or anything game changing, and I think not everybody cared about that. Like I myself didn't really care too much. And you could practically play everything else regardless. So it was sort of pointless to go for the stats, just go for the cool looking skins, and that's pretty much it. I think they'll do the same thing with Payday 3. However, I do hope that despite that they have some unlockable skins, BattleBit is a great example of how you do that, where if you use a gun a lot, you unlock different skins, and it has the amply named CBT factor, which is a term Breaking make up. And well, I can't explain CBT here. I will say it's essentially just a big dick factor. It is essentially the harder something is to get, the cooler it needs to look, so other people want to do the hard stuff. And it's absolutely great. BattleBit have it. I hope Payday 3 will have it. I don't hope that all the gun skins are just going to be you buy this skin and then you can slap it on. I hope it's going to be something where you have to earn it, where you have to play for it. That would be nice to see. Partially just because it would add some incentive to do a lot of the harder content other than just, getting more cash, which eventually in Payday, just like Payday 3, just like Payday 2 before it, will become fucking useless. Because in any game, really, currency ends up being a thing you just have such an abundance of if you play it a lot. Destiny is the perfect example, right? You play a lot of Destiny, then you'll have a lot of legendary shots, and you will never, ever, ever need to grind for it again. I know they're deprecating them now, but like that's just as a pretty good example of how an economy usually works in a game, where the more you play the game, the more currency you have, the less you need to get that currency. And despite how many money sinks are released, usually if you're on the top end of the currency spectrum, you will never run dry. You'll just end up going into this loop where you play so much that you just kind of keep yourself up. And Payday 2 had the same issue, where you had your bank account. I had like 3-point-something billion in it, and despite all the all the DLCs and everything that I got, and all the weapons that I got upgraded, and all the space that I got, I never ran out. I could always continue. It was kind of dumb, honestly. And I sort of don't hope Payday 3 falls into the same trap. In my opinion, that would be unfortunate. I hope to see some level of money sink or anything else to it. That would be nice, but we'll see about that. The last thing I need to judge about when it comes to the gameplay of Payday is straight up talking about the leveling system, because I've mentioned that there was the gun levels, which is for attachments and skins and everything like that. However, there's also the level. The level, the character level, I suppose is the right term, is essentially what you're using when you're unlocking new perks and everything like that. However, perk unlocking is not exactly like a normal game. In Payday 3, you select the perk you want to research. It can be one out of all its like trees, and I think there were in the beta at the very least 10 trees you can select from. And that essentially allows you to research that tree. Once it's unlocked, you research the next perk in line and so on. And then you can mix and match it, or like just essentially however you want. There's no limits there. As far as I can see, you can max have 4 perks active at a time, but it allows for some crazy build crafting. Straight up. And I think there are gonna be some insanely crazy builds in Payday 3 that I'm looking forward to see. Matter of fact, there have already been some that I think is kind of insane, where if you kill enemies, you can like instantly get your ammo back and shit like that. Looks crazy. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the game, like the full release. And more importantly, in my opinion, I am hoping that the community stays around it, because Payday 2 was a game that for me meant a lot, as it was the first multiplayer game I played where I really got in touch with other people across the world. It was one that I met friends that I have, still are with me today. Like I still talk to some of them from all over the world, including like really far away from where I am, like Russia. I met a guy who was playing Payday as well, and we just hit it off and like talked for a long time. And there are other places in the world, like the UK. I had a friend from that was also playing Payday, and that transferred into the Division, which transferred into Destiny 2, and so on. And I think that's fucking awesome. I hope to see more of that in Payday 3, and I hope they can keep that up. My main sort of critique towards it, however, and that's one thing I will say, is that they have 3 things attached to the middle mouse button, which is the ping. It is yelling for civilians to get down, and it is also tags, which are just too many things at once on your mouse wheel, in my opinion. But I think you can change that in the game, especially in the full release. So yeah, I think that about covers my thoughts. I am really positive about it. I think Payday 3 is looking great. It's a game that I'll be playing on launch here on the channel. I'm not sure if I'll play it like live or whatever, but I will definitely talk about it and review it once it's fully out. But for now, this is my thoughts on the beta, if you were wondering, and thank you for watching, and thank you for sticking around to the end of this. I'll catch you all later. Bye.